Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to HJBC and welcome to the Reddit iRacing League. Season 25, Round 8 brings these IndyCar Dallara DW12 vehicles to Okayama circuit. And even though this is a circuit that has hosted Formula One in the past, these high horsepower open wheel machines really are tiptoeing around what's quite a narrow, quite technical course here at Okayama. I'm David Haynes, and joining me is going to be Aaron Thacker. Aaron, your thoughts as we've got the second to last round of this season?
As if we have never been disappointed by a single round this weekend. RiL, this is going to be another one where we are not going to be disappointed as we watch these absolute rocket ship cars race around this pretty narrow and very, very twisty circuit tonight. And David, we were talking in pre-race, there's a lot of opinions on how these cars look, but there's no doubt that everybody loves how much these things perform on this type of a track with so much downforce.
Yeah, indeed. Plenty of downforce, plenty of underbody aerodynamics, and then that fantastic turbocharged engine gives them plenty of power. It's qualifying underway right now. Some minutes of that remain, and as I'm sure you can see, all cars out on track together at once means finding some space to put in a lap has been at a premium, but some drivers have definitely managed to make that work.
You bet. And right now on the top of the timing sheet is our championship leader, Alex Albert. And Alex Albert is currently leading the field with 314 parts, followed by Giovanni Mono, P2 in points, John Patrick, P3, Alex Coffin, P4, and Thomas Ellison running out our top 5 in points. So, David, we're seeing some names at the top that we're used to seeing in this championship. And again, championship implications around the board tonight. Giovanni Mono currently P9 on grid.
Exactly. The championship, in theory, can be wrapped up at this round, I do believe. Alex Albert has a points lead over Giovanni Romano after the last round where Alex scored some solid points and Giovanni Romano, unfortunately, having some issues with that V8 supercar around Charlotte Oval. But this is one that, in theory, he could definitely get one up on Alex Albert. We've got a 45-minute race in our future. And that means we're absolutely going to see some pit stops because these turbocharged Indy cars really don't go that far on a tank of fuel. They are not sippers. They chug through that fuel.
No, they really do. Not what you typically hear about from a turbocharged engine, but these cars are very, very thirsty. We've been watching practice here for a bit. I'm currently riding along with, currently P27. Ignacio Gomez. I probably butchered that last name, but David, all these guys are just having a very difficult time. You got to be very metered on the throttle coming out of some of these sections, as we've seen plenty of spins in the practice session and more so in qualifying, as these guys are really trying to put down some of their best laps. So I'm really watching who's managing that throttle the best and who's behaving themselves. But you can really put a lap down here, but my goodness, you overdo it. And we've watched a big spin right there by John Patrick on his lap. So my goodness, David, there's tons of drama still left to have just here in qualifying alone.
Yeah, precisely. Putting the power down, looking very difficult. It's early morning conditions, so we would expect the track to continue to warm up a little bit. I'll come to you for that on that one again in a second, but yeah, and then different strategies being employed in this qualifying session as well, because it is the fixed iRacing medium downforce setup for qualifying for the race, and that means starting with lots of fuel in the tank. So I think I've seen some drivers go out there and just lap around for a while, then come into the pits, take a new set of tires, and go out there with a lighter fuel load, because you can't leave the pits with anything less than a full tank of fuel. So definitely some strategy out there when we have such an extended 35-minute qualifying session.
Yeah, you bet. David, let's find somebody to ride along with. I'm riding along with Alexander Bueller right now. He is currently sitting in P3. This appears to be an outlap, and as always, he's got himself a very unique livery to be watching. He's running up on some traffic here. Again, a right front lockup coming in that tight right-hander, diving down to the left. And David, I think if we're going to see some spins, it'll be in the sector right here. Guys getting a little too aggressive, potentially dropping a wheel in that grass. We are coming through the second to last sector here again, locking up just a little bit. You see how difficult these guys are really trying to get this car to rotate. So we are dealing with some traffic here. All right, David, looks like he's going to probably give himself a fast lap here. 4 minutes left in qualifying. Let's ride along with Alexander Bueller to see if he can improve.
Yeah, across the line he comes, and that was a 1 minute 14.9, so definitely on the pace, but he's going to need to go faster than the 14.3 to improve, and he's going to need to go faster than the 14.2 to take second place on the grid away from Alex Albert. And one of the things we talk about when we talk about this circuit being quite twisty, not as much open and flowing as plenty of other circuits that you might expect, is that there's just lots of hairpins around here. Uphill through, I think that's Atwood Curve. It's a bit of a hairpin, bit of traffic in front for Alexander Bueller here as he's on the brakes and turns into another hairpin. But I think that's compromised his lap there. And he's backed out of this. It's the driver slow on the racing line in front of him, didn't catch who that was, and someone else spins out in front of him. But there is, what if you count them, 1, 2, 3, probably 4 hairpins around this lap, and it's a pretty short lap as well. We're seeing 1 minute 14s, 1 minute 15s in these conditions. So there's a couple sweeping corners. I like the last corner, but there is definitely some slow hairpin sections as well, which are difficult in a car like this. You come in quickly, maybe lock up an inside tire, and on the exit, so easy to spin up the tires as the revs rise and the turbo eventually kicks in.
Yeah, I think what we're going to see is probably in that final sector as these guys enter turn 8, which is a very hard left-hander, and then entering into an uphill, again, very difficult section, turn 9, and then turn 10, and then turn 11. You really got to get that right. So, again, if we're still with Alexander Bueller, who looks to be trying again, he's entering turn 1. This is going to be one of the fastest corners on the track. We watch him overshoot and just bail on this lap. So, David, I think Alexander Bueller's chances of improving his lap are pretty much done with 2 minutes left in this session. Who else are you watching on track?
Well, there's a few out there. Alex Coffin has just started another lap, and he's in 17th, but, we've seen him have some good runs this season, some top 10s for sure. He might have even had a top 5 at some point. So down in 17th for him is maybe a little bit uncharacteristic. He's just started a lap. Let's check out how he's going. So 427 Papaya Orange. And he's just come onto the backstretch, which I think is the fastest part of the circuit and presents the best overtaking opportunity. The braking zone at the end of that back straight and into this hairpin. Hardest braking zone on the circuit, not only in terms of how much braking is required, but also it's quite difficult because the turn into the corner drops away as well. But Coffin looks like this could be an improvement. His best is a 1:15.5. And just had a new time come in for pole position though, Aaron.
Yes, we did. Alex Albert, he has bested Evan Merrill of a 1:14.1 with a blazing fastest lap of the session. The first person in the 13s with a 1:13.979. So, wow, a very impressive effort right there with just under a minute left. So, David, these final laps are going to count as we watch Alex Coffin hopefully being able to sneak one. He looks like he's going to try.
Yep, he's going to just come across the line in time to have one more attempt. It looked good right up until he spun those rear tires. It's just so easy to do out of the slow corners. You can get into the throttle, start getting out of the corner, and then the tires spin up later down the road when the turbo boost comes in. And of course, a pretty light open wheel carbon race car and plenty of horsepower from the turbocharged engines in these things. So not the world's easiest to drive out of a slow corner like that. Checkered flag is in the air. Jeff Tyler has just jumped up into third at the dying minutes of this session. And there's only a few drivers out there now who can improve. And one of them is Alex Coffard in 17th right now. Runs a little bit wide there, but this lap is still valid. He's kept it within the white lines so far.
Yeah, he's come into that difficult, hard left corner number 8 here, going uphill on the very difficult turn 9. You got to be really careful on the throttle here. Has he done it? Yeah, he's still got a little bit of a wiggle there. He's still got the power on. Clip the curb here, take it nice and wide, and then get back on the power as soon as you can. Run off as much as you can. Oh, David hoping to get a 1X there. Let's watch what Coffin does on time.
And a 116.1 is no improvement, and he tries to turn that into the IndyCar space program on the exit of turn 1, but no improvement for him. So he'll be starting 17th in this race, and 27 cars having attempted qualifying is a pretty strong grid, I would say. Anyone else out there who can improve? I don't think so. So let's run down our qualifying order. On pole position and your points leader, Alex Albert, so I'm sure he'll be delighted with that qualifying effort. Joining him on the front row will be Evan Merrill. And second row is going to be Jeff Tyler and Alexander Bueller. Behind that, 5th place is Dylan Blanton, 6th for Nate Franklin, 7th for Antonio Alvarez, and 8th for defending champion Giovanni Romano.
Yeah, and then just behind that, John Patrick P9, Daniel Bartz rounding out our top 10 with a 1:15.070. Behind that, P11, Ryan Verhulst, P11, Thomas Ellison, P12, Andrew Fawcett, P13, Steven Sims, P14, Brian Molitor, P15, and Jeremy Rogers, P16, Alex Cofford, who we followed a few laps on, finishes out P17, Kyle Smith, P18, Shane Cameron, P19, Jordan Babcock and Babs Nation rounding out our top 20, Matthew Murphy, Austin Burdick, David Hall, Nicholas Harder, Harrison Chandler, Christopher Flamian, and Ignacio Gomez rounding out our full 27 car field, David.
And they're starting to form up now behind the Porsche safety car. And we'll have a rolling start for our 45 minutes of racing. And you know, with how hard we saw some of these drivers pushing in qualifying, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some few spins in the race. I think that will probably be something to expect, but hoping for a clean start. And no doubt we're going to have some strategy out to play here, because everyone's going to have to take some fuel at some point, and new tires can also be worth a lot as well. So when do they decide to pit? That's one thing we'll be watching out for. Almost everyone on the grid now getting ready to start Round 8, Season 25, Reddit iRacing League, Dallara DW12s at Okayama.
Yeah, we're going to see some very gentle pace laps here. This is a very short pace lap here, but again, these are very wide cars on a pretty darn narrow circuit. So hopefully everybody can behave themselves, but this is a large field, David, as we talked about it, as this front group does go around. That back side of this field is going to be entering into that turn 10, maybe turn 11, maybe even turn 10 for some cars when that green flag drops. So these guys got to be very, very careful. As we mentioned, we may see some very late, unfortunate accidents early on in this race. And that turn 1, going to see plenty of passing opportunity there. That's a nice wide section, plenty of runoff, but also potentially some dangerous opportunity for some easy goers or for early goers when it comes to the passing. And David, it looks like the timer has run out and we are ready to begin our pace lap.
Indeed, and drivers also have 10 push-to-passes available to them in this race, which they can decide when and how they want to use. They press a button on the steering wheel and it unlocks some extra horsepower for a 10 to 15 second burst. I'm not sure exactly, but it's in that region. And some drivers might be very tempted to use one on the first lap. And some drivers might be tempted to save them up for later in the race and make some passes then. Who knows? But I think we'll have an idea when people are using them. The numbers on the roll hoop, I believe, flash. Pace car is in through the final corner. Alex Albert and Evan Merrill on the front row. And Alex Albert jumps very early. Evan Merrill caught napping. Jeff Tyler is going to come up into second. And we are racing 45 minutes. Side by side, Tyler and Evan into turn 1. Jeff Tyler has got it.
Yeah, he does, David. I'm watching for any wrecks here. It looks like everybody's keeping clean. I do want to make an early prediction. Giovanni Romano, we've seen him in open wheel before. He was very, very good in the Skippy. So I've got my money on Giovanni Romano tonight. But you cannot count out our points under Alex Albert. He has continued to prove me wrong every single week, David. And it looks like we've got a well-behaved field. Do we have any issues back there?
Not that I've seen, but Antonio Alvarez has just dived it up the inside of Giovanni Romano to put him back into 8th place. Those two have swapped positions already, coming into the tightest hairpin on the circuit from the fastest braking zone. And again, everyone pretty clean on the first lap. Good start, and hopefully we can keep up with this. This is going to be exciting racing.
Unfortunately, David, we have 2 cars into the wall. Jordan Babcock and Babs Nation have hit the wall, as well as Steve Sims. So, David, 2 self-spins. Steve Sims was a self-forced error. Jordan Babcock saw the wreck and tried to break up and did a very hard contact on the wall. So we already have 2 cars hitting pit lane.
Right, well, 25 drivers continue. Ignacio Gomez did not take the start, so... and I don't think Shane Cameron did either. So 25 cars taking the start, and Alex Albert leading, and Jeff Tyler having taken 2nd place away from Evan Merrill. Someone has, Dylan Blanton, I think, has lost some spots, run wide in turn 1 and been passed by Nate Franklin, Antonio Alvarez, and Giovanni Romano.
Yeah, we got some side-by-side action here. Daniel Bartz getting passed by Thomas Ellison on the inside of turn 4, but now he's got a very good run. David, I think these are some of these opportunities where you're going to see some push to passing here, and a big dive. Ryan Verhulst inside of Daniel Bartz. This is a very difficult section to go side-by-side. He may want to give this position up. No, Bartz says, no, I'm going to go side-by-side. And unfortunately, David, Daniel Bartz has had to give it up. Ryan Verhulst up to P10.
Yeah, brave around the outside. Another one of those corners that drop away in the middle, and you can pick up understeer, oversteer, all manner of problems like that. But clean so far. Plenty of tire smoke. So easy to lock up a inside front tire in some of these very slow braking zones as the aerodynamic downforce disappears as you slow.
Yep. Gotta be careful. This front group here working pretty hard. Alex Albert taking a very interesting line into turn 1. I gave Jeff Tyler a little bit of opportunity to get a nice run on here. But yeah, this front group here is pretty much run consistent. That last lap, Alex Albert 114.8, Jeff Tyler 114.7, Evan Merrill with the fast lap of the race to 114.5.
Medium downforce does mean they'll have plenty of grip through the corners, but it also helps the slipstream effect down the straights here. And Jeff Tyler, no doubt, on the pit straight and the back straight here, will have just a little bit of an advantage from following along behind Alex Albert. He has a big wiggle trying to put the power down out of that hairpin, but holds on to it, does Jeff Tyler. And Evan Merrill, I sense, wants that 2nd place back. The top 3 are forming a little bit of a breakaway. There's some clean air for Alexander Bueller in 4th, Nate Franklin in 5th. Then we come back to that pack that is being led in 6th place by Antonio Alvarez.
David, I do want to pop back to the back group here between Matthew Murphy and P18 and pretty much all the way forward. These guys are all within about 4/10 of each other. And my goodness, is it's a gaggle back here.
That's some great pack racing being formed. Someone has had a huge wiggle. Which one is that? The 26 or 28? Might have been Daniel Bartz having some problems again. As he's formed up in part of this pack. That's Brian Molitor, Daniel Bartz, John Patrick, Andrew Fawcett, Alex Coffard, Jeremy Rogers. So if they keep racing so closely like this, will we see anyone go for an early pit stop, get some clean air, put on some fresh tires, try and form an undercut, I wonder?
I'm not sure. You got to really start to think about this. I know we're only, a handful of minutes into this race, but Andrew Fawcett is looking extremely racy as we watch him dive down John Patrick here, taking a look, thinks better of it, a little bit of a lockup. Coffin also being very cautious in that bright orange McLaren livery. Everybody being very patient in this section. And David, that section of the track right there, we're going to have to watch out for how dusty that's going to get. It's not detrimental to run a little bit wide and drop a tire off there because you really want to swing into that corner. And we watch Fawcett, a big wiggle coming into this 8, 9, 10 section. He recovered there, but a little scary. And he does it again, clips the grass. Fawcett is on the edge.
Really feeling the pressure from Alex Coffin, who's already up 2 spots and then runs a little bit wide. Does force it. Will Coffin think about using a push to pass? He's right in the slipstream, nothing doing before turn 1. So that is very, very close between those two drivers there, but no opportunity presenting itself just yet for Alex Coffin.
David, let's pop back up to our front group. Evan Merrill was looking very racing on Jeff Tyler in those first 2 sections. He's pulled off just a little bit. Everybody's going to get a little advantage catching up here, but this is the section where you really have to behave yourself. There's really no opportunity to make any foolish mistakes here. Evan Merrill completely missing the apex going into turn 7, but I think that's okay with this very slow section. But yeah, he is staying as close as he can to Jeff Tyler, but they are really both trying to hunt down Alex Albert right now, who remains very, very quick on track.
Yeah, nearly 9/10 of a lead is what Alex Albert has. There's been a problem somewhere for Daniel Bartz. He's been off the circuit, so he drops even more positions back into 18th.
Yeah, David, he had a spin in that section I was just talking about, that section 6, 7, 8. He dropped a tire off and made very light contact with the outside wall. He did hit that front wing. I don't know if that was enough to damage the car, so everybody else got by clean. So Daniel Bart's talking about that section, that 5, 6, 7 combo, dropped the tire, self-spin.
Gap for your leader is now just over a second, so trying to get away from his pursuers is Alex Albert, and Alexander Bueller in 4th has also kept pace with the leaders on the last lap as well, so I don't think it's over for anyone just yet, especially with how difficult it is to put the power down in a car like this. Giovanni Romano in 7th, though, is the head of a little bit of a snake there.
Yeah, this is a battle I was focused on. Dylan Blanton, we've really kind of got introduced to him during last week's race, and he's a very talented driver, but this is a whole another can of worms with these cars here. He's sticking very closely to Giovanni Romano, but we all know Giovanni Romano's style. It is slow and steady throughout the race, and David, again, I think he's just keeping his head under him, keeping the tires under him, and he typically gets very, very quick as the race goes on. As we've got a car coming out of the pits there. I think that was one of our early cars that had an issue. But yeah, Giovanni Romano, Dylan Blanton, Ryan Verhulst, yeah, these guys are all right on top of each other. And Thomas Ellison is bringing up the end of that train.
Romano, the Canadian, with what I think looks like a James Hinchcliffe tribute there. So the assistant mayor of Hinchtown, Giovanni Romano.
Indeed. And we're watching Alex Albert here. So this is going to start becoming an issue. He has himself a lap car already, David. We're 36 minutes left in this race. I think some of these lap cars are going to be an issue. Mr. Alex Albert has his eyes on that already as Alex Albert goes very wide into that 8-9 section right there. But yeah, he's already having to eyeball a lap car in front of him. We've got to be very, very careful. Hopefully some respectful driving from this lap car. But this will be an issue as we continue on with this race.
Yeah, as we said, quick laps coming by just over a minute means that leader can catch some cars that have had a spin or an issue or an early pit stop quite quickly. And we've had 4 cars down the lane so far. Steven Sims, Kyle Smith's on the lane right now, has been held in his box for more than a minute so far. Nicholas Harter and Jordan Babcock have also visited pit lane. Kyle Smith's now left pit lane, but that's 4 cars that have already been down onto pit lane, and it doesn't take long in the pit road for you to nearly go down a lap around a circuit like this.
No, it does not. Yeah, you can go down very, very quickly. David, I want to
Second
pop down
and third,
again.
I think Jeff Tyler was just under threat from Evan Merrill, but he staved it off for the moment. Where have you been looking?
No, let's stay on this. These guys are getting ready to hop on the front stretch here, and Alex Albert is pretty much about to hit some very difficult traffic. I think Jeff Tyler is potentially timing a move here, because look how much this is backed up. Alex Albert, my goodness, this is not good in a section where you really cannot pass through. Watch Evan Merrill light up the tires coming into the turn 10-11 complex.
Yeah, that is right. Alex Albert did catch a little bit of that traffic. The You know, I missed which number car that was, but no doubt now it's Evan Merrill's job to get past the 23 Steven Sims, and it's holding up Evan Merrill. This time he's probably going to have a look into the sweeping uphill hairpin. Can't get by this time either, so Merrill being compromised, but this has let Tyler get within half a second of Alex Albert for the lead, and this is a point where you might consider using a push to pass if you're Jeff Tyler. And Evan Merrill through now on Steven Sims, but probably be bemoaning a lack of flashing headlights on a car like this.
Yeah, that was a difficult moment for Evan Merrill there, but I don't think that Steven Sims really did anything wrong there. Again, I think he held his line. Some of those sections very difficult. Oh, Jeff Tyler with the spin!
Second. He loops it around another 360, gets it going again, but he's lost that position to Evan Merrill. He's let Alexander Bueller through, and Nate Franklin in the Buzz and Hornets livery is right behind him now. Aggressive black and yellow. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee potentially, but he's right there looking to put Jeff Tyler another position down. That hasn't put any damage on the number 46 for Jeff Tyler, but it has cost him 2 and maybe soon to be 3 spots. That's the kind of spin we were talking about. So easy to do out of the slow corners to light up those rear tires.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. I watched that replay again. It was almost like some off-throttle oversteer, but he was post apex on the corner, so I'm not entirely sure if it was on throttle application where the car went around it. Jeff Tyler's not going to have to navigate Steven Sims again. Steven Sims wisely moves over, but wow, very difficult moment to see from Jeff Tyler, and very uncommon spin from him. Wow, he's got some work to do, David, to get back up to his P2 spot.
Another battle that's going on is for 9th and 10th. Tom Ellison got past Ryan Verholster and he went off wide earlier on. Now I think, yeah, if he's head down, Ryan Verholster is going to try and grab that spot back. They're within a second of each other. And Tom Ellison with another sort of IndyCar kart throwback livery, and smoking is bad for you kids.
It is definitely bad. It is smoking in real life and smoking the tires on some of these cars, which we watched Jeff Tyler do just a few laps ago. But yeah, Ryan Verhulst, very, very quick on track. He is at 1 position. And David, it looks like, do we have an issue? Yeah, Chris Flamming appears to have had an issue. Flamming is now in the pits.
Yeah, so Chris Flamming started very low down the field, had gained a bunch of positions, and now he's on pit road, and I think that's had to tow to get to pit road as well. So big issues for Flamian there.
Yeah, David, we have a spin. We have a car sitting in turn 8. That was Alexander Bueller just sitting in turn 8. That may have been a self-spin again.
Yeah, so I'm seeing problems for Alexander Bueller as well. So lots of racing going on. But 17th and 18th, Brian Molitor and David Hall. This is a great battle deeper in the field. The 04 car ahead of the number 10, and they come through sweeping uphill at Wood Curve, and Brian Molitor, I think, gets the power down quite well. Another driver running a sort of kart throwback livery. Looks like the one that Nigel Mansell used in '93, if I had to take a guess.
David, that is a fine photographic memory you have with some livery history there. But yeah, David Hall with a pretty fancy looking livery as well. But yeah, David Hall is not quite as quick as Brian Molitor in this section here. He was very quick in section. And we have David Hall, David in the self-spin again in this 5, 6, 7 complex. David Hall going around and losing any opportunity he had against Brian Molitor.
6th and 7th, Romano and Blanton. Blanton so close behind Romano, but nothing to do. And again, that's another one of those throwback liveries for Blanton with the Texaco Haviline scheme on, and it's not enough to intimidate Romano in 6th. And there's those two battle. Coming up behind them is Alexander Bueller, who is running in 4th. Might have even been running in 3rd for a bit, and had his own little spin. And he's gone and done it again. More positions lost for Alexander Bueller. He is not driving with his focus on.
No, he is not. David, I have seen very bad news for our P4 in points. About a lap and a half ago, Alex Coffin spun around in that dreaded 8-9 section, spun around, lit up the tires to try and save it, backed into the wall, lost his rear spoiler. David, he has since taken a pit stop. I believe that spoiler is back on, but my goodness, that is just a complete disaster for Alex Coffin early on in this race, David. He's had a very difficult 2 weeks in these last few races of the RL League.
That's tough for him, and hopefully he'll manage to get to the end from here on fuel. Not sure, but it was only 6.6 seconds stationary for him to get that fixed. Presumably put some new tires on and maybe just a little bit of fuel needed for the end. Two cars go for a spin in front of him though. The track was blocked. So I think Harrison Chandler there has just nosed into the wall. And Evan Merrill. Wow, so from second place, Evan Merrill jumping into the pits because he has lost a bit of time there. So he's decided right now is the time to take the splash of fuel I need, put a new set of tires on, and maybe if there's any aerodynamic elements that aren't to his liking, get them replaced very quickly with fast repair available to him. So on the pit lane, he goes in the black and white livery. Let's see, is this also a 6-second stop? Car goes up on the jacks. He's going to take new tires. And the moment the car's down on the jacks, he is away 6.4 seconds. So clearly only a little splash of fuel needed to do the full 45 minutes. And then he comes out of pit lane, parks it. Evan Merrill, what is going on? He toes. That's basically race over Evan Merrill.
David, I am not sure what is going on here. We've seen Evan Merrill with technical issues before. David, I hope he's not been bitten by the bug again.
I don't know, but that is a very, very well-placed car having some odd issues for Evan Merrill, and there's nothing wrong with the pit stop that I saw. They fixed it, but then he's pulled the car to the side of the road. He is out of this race at the moment. That means your top three is Alex Albert, Jeff Tyler. Nate Franklin has found his way up into third because of these problems for Evan Merrill and the spins for Alexander Bueller. So now Franklin in a podium position.
Yeah, Franklin with a very strong and consistent drive tonight. He's definitely not the quickest car on track. He's running about 0.3 slower than our lead group here, who are running 14.7. Nate Franklin's about a 15 dead. But Dave, you just see you keep this car pointed in the right direction, and Nate Franklin plays his spin strategy right. I don't think this P3 could be leading him anytime soon.
Been problem, I think, for Brian Molitor wherever he is around on circuit. Matthew Murphy has gotten through, and that was one of the closer battles lit up on my timing screen. The only one really remaining now is Romano and Blanton, and Blanton has been riding along behind Giovanni Romano almost this whole race. We're getting close to the halfway point. Blanton just has not found a way through. So I wonder, is Blanton saving up some push to passes? Has Romano been using them to defend? And when will these guys pit? From what we've seen of the pit stops so far, it's really only a splash of fuel that is going to be needed from these guys to make it to the end. So that means they could go maybe as late as 10 or 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, we're definitely going to keep an eye on this because it is right at, we are just under the 26-minute mark. Track temperature is a very cozy 78 degrees, so I'm sure these cars feel pretty comfortable right now. David, you mentioned Brian Molitor had a moment. He spun in that 8-9 section again. So all these skid marks are really starting to add up. Exiting turn 9 as these guys go up the hill, the car crests. You have no downforce because you're probably going about 50, 60 miles an hour. That is an area where these guys have really got to pay attention to what they're doing with that throttle.
And you can't even really save the wheel spin by going up a gear, because then you just delay how far down the road the turbo spools up and catches you off guard. So, I mean, very, very careful and make sure you've got the wheel straight as you can by the time you come to put the power down, so it doesn't catch you by surprise, so you can't get caught out.
Yeah, we're watching I'm watching Dylan Blanton and Giovanni Mono go through that section right there. Dylan Blanton, he did light up the tires, just coming over the crest on it, turn 9, coming into turn 10. But that did not lose him any time on Giovanni Mono, who both these cars are up. Giovanni Mono is up 3 spots. Dylan Blanton still a bit on a recovery drive where he is trying to steal back that spot from. Oh, and a spin. Dylan Blanton goes around.
Turn 2, difficult. It's off camber and about somewhere around the middle of the corner. Dylan Blanton's lost traction at the rear. That spun him around. He kept it off the wall, I think, but it's a very awkward place to go for a spin. Difficult to recover from. And he's going again. Now down in 9th. Alexander Bueller's come through back into 8th, and they can have their own little spin pity party back there if they want to. Dylan Blanton was running really well. It was a great battle he was having with Giovanni Romano. It was good to watch, but now, unfortunately, that's cost Blanton quite a lot of time.
Man, just spins, David. Pirouettes left and right and left and right. And yeah, we're going to pop down to... Yeah, David, we're going to pop down to the battle between 14th and 15th. Daniel Bartz and David Hall. This just as we see that, David Hall heads into the pits. So that is going to leave Daniel
Rogers
Bartz
and Bartz pulls to the side. I think that's to let Jeff Tyler through, who goes for a spin. So Jeff Tyler trying to put a lap on Daniel Bartz. It's gone for a spin from 2nd place. Now Nate Franklin's up into 2nd, and Alvarez is going to go into 3rd. So Jeff Tyler has been caught out in turn 2. Very difficult there.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what Daniel Bartz was doing. He entered turn 1, went very, very wide, just didn't quite have it back together. And I just don't know that Jeff Tyler knew he was there. I think he probably assumed that Bartz was going to slow down, and that just didn't happen. Yeah, Bartz just completely blew turn 1. It was very, very wide. Jeff Tyler, he probably thought, had the preferred line, and just, yeah, David, I think both those guys just didn't know each other was there.
If I'm honest, you could totally see how, from Jeff Tyler's perspective, it looked like he was being let by Daniel Bartz, who then stayed in the throttle, went for the apex of turn 2, and the two have come together there. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Tyler on the pit lane soon. It's cost him quite dearly from 2nd place. Romano has come through as well. Tyler is onto the pit lane. Coffin has gone for a little bit of a spin. It's all kicking off as we're basically exactly at the halfway point of this race.
Yeah, the dramas are coming in, but you know where there is no drama? Nate Franklin, who was silently and very diligently, he worked his way up to P4. He started in P6, David, and has just kept his head straight. So yeah, we're seeing some of these pit cycles come through right now. Our highest running pitter, yeah, Jeff Tyler's in the pits, John Patrick is in the pits, and Thomas Ellison is also pits. So P7, 8, 9, and then kind of a mixed bag from back there, David. But it looks like anybody outside the top 10 has likely made a pit stop. And this front group, let's keep an eye on them as pit cycles are coming.
I called it out halfway in this race, and that means quite a few drivers came onto pit road then for a new set of tires and that splash of fuel, thinking more about the tire life than they are about the fuel stint. So that was, Tyler was on pit road, but we know that was from the contact. But then Ellison and Patrick and Coffard, I think, also on the lane. So fresh tires, the word of the day for those drivers.
First tires, the word of the day. I'm watching, I got my eyes on Jeremy Rogers and Andrew Fawcett. We've mentioned Andrew Fawcett several times in this race as he's had a bit of an adventurous afternoon. Both these cars have pitted with Jeremy Rogers 5 laps old and Andrew Fawcett on some fresher rubber, just a lap in. So we're probably going to see him pull away. In fact, we are right now. He's gapping Jeremy Rogers fairly quickly. So Fawcett working his way back up. He is up 1 position, but David, we both know he's faster than that, so anxious to see what he can do with the remainder of this race with some fresh rubber.
Franklin just come through pit road, taken some new tires. I think that is strategic, so we'll see what kind of pace he can pull out on this lap. That's put him back into 6th, but he is running first of all of the cars that have taken a pit stop. We'll be hoping that he can put in some quick laps right now that would protect him from Antonio Alvarez. I'm not sure he's going to be able to quite catch Alex Albert unless there's a problem for Albert. But maybe that's what he's banking on, is that these drivers going further on their tires are going to be at risk of some mistakes. and he might be able to capitalize. But that's Albert on the lane from the lead, points leader, race leader, pole man in pit lane right now.
Yeah, this is a scheduled stop. No issues, no concerns for that. So that is going to promote Antonio Alvarez to P1 and Giovanni Romano, number P2 in points, into second place. But they have not pitted, so these guys need to be careful. Potentially, I don't know any sort of undercutting is going to happen here, because we've all seen these guys with these very old tires. I don't think there's much opportunity with that, because these tires get worn out pretty fast. So right now, Nate Franklin is our top speed. Alex Albert is our top runner in the pit group, followed by Nate Franklin and Ryan Verhulst.
So your only drivers not to have pitted now is Antonio Alvarez, Giovanni Romano, and Matthew Murphy, who's running down in 11th place. One of the things these guys have also got to be careful with, though, is when you come out of the pit lane, the tires are quite cold. You got to be careful on them for a lap or so till you get the temperature in. Then they're good. Then they're better than an old set of tires. But the first lap, there's no tire warmers for these Indy cars. There's no tire warmers for any of them, the DW12, the IR18, or whatever the old one was called, the IR05. So the first lap out, you do need to exercise a little bit of caution, but then they come good and you've got the grip of a new set of tires.
Yeah, I can't imagine what it feels like you coming out of that pit lane knowing you've got almost 600 horsepower underneath your right foot with cold tires. That would make me a bit nervous. David, I'm watching the battle between P8 and P9, Alexander Bueller and Thomas Ellison. Bueller having himself a spin already. I believe Thomas Ellison has kept his nose clean this race. Both these are very fast drivers, so interesting to see how this battle plays out.
And they've got Alex Coffin behind them, who's a lap down on them, but he's going quickly as well, so he's trailing along with them, and Ellison is quite close to that tail of Alexander Bueller, if you'll pardon me saying as much. So the pressure on Bueller might see him have another spin, because the issues for him earlier were relatively unforced, but now he's got a driver behind, looking this way, looking that way, maybe using the push to pass, who knows. So a bit of pressure here for 8th and 9th. I think Bueller's pulling out a little bit more of a gap on Tom Ellison that time around.
David, we could stay on this battle. I am following Antonio Alvarez. He has passed the pit lane yet again, so no pitting for Antonio Alvarez, and Giovanni Romano has also followed suit. So David, our last two pitters are 22 laps old on these tires, and just to give you an idea of what that Excuse me, David. Giovanni Romano is on pit lane. So Antonio Alvarez is by himself. And just to give you an idea what that lap delta looks like, he's doing a 15 sevens, and the rest of the field is doing about 15 threes. And with an Nate Franklin did a 15 dead, David. So he's almost a full second, 8/10 slower.
Yeah, exactly. So Nate Franklin with his fresh tires is doing a great job at making sure that Antonio Alvarez going longer won't overcut him. So Alvarez, we've seen this before. He likes to go long on the fuel stint. It's not looking like it's going to pay too many dividends for him. Really what he's got to look out for is, will Jeff Tyler, will Giovanni Romano undercut him? Don't think he's got to worry about Nate Franklin. What Alvarez has got to worry about is, will he come back out into 3rd place? And the way it's going right now, and the pace for Jeff Tyler, I'd be worried if I was Alvarez that he's going to lose 3rd place if he doesn't pit very, very soon.
And David, he's in right now. So let's
someone listens to my advice.
Yeah, David. So let's keep an eye on everything you were just talking about. Where is he going to come out on this track? As he worked very hard to get up where he is, but this is not going to be advantageous for him to keep
Albert
that position.
Comes by, takes the lead. Franklin is now 10 seconds back. Alvarez drops down. Franklin is through. Where is Jeff Tyler? Is he going to come
Tyler,
through?
He's crossing
well?
start finish right now, David. It's going to be side by side to turn 1.
It is indeed side by side into turn one. Alvarez stays to the right-hand side. Will Jeff Tyler have room down the inside of turn two? He'll try. Alvarez will go around the outside of him, and they're side by side. This will be the inside into the next turn for Alvarez, but cold tires. How brave will he be? He needs to keep that thing pointed straight. He's fighting for a podium, fighting all he is worth, and this is actually a very strong run from him. They're side by side on the back stretch. Who's got a push to pass to use? Use it now, but Jeff Tyler gets his nose in front. Alvarez looks to the inside. It's not happening. I think staying out 5 laps longer on those tires, though, has maybe cost Alvarez that podium position.
Yeah, David, but what a drive by Antonio Alvarez on those cold laps, keeping up with Jeff Tyler, who had some very warm tires 5 laps in. So, wow, that was a lot of fun to watch. But yeah, I fear that getting those tires up to temperature, Jeff Tyler has the clear advantage here. So things have settled back in with Alex Albert, P1, Nate Franklin, P2, and Jeff Tyler, after a very difficult spin early on, about halfway through this race, he's regained that final podium spot.
And you know what? The last time around, Jeff Tyler was the fastest car on track, only driver in the 1 minute 14s, and he was about a second a lap quicker than Nate Franklin in front, who's only 5 seconds up the road. So he was trying to get on and catch second place. Of course, going side by side with Alvarez on that previous lap, it's cost him a little bit of time just then, but his pace was rocket ship. Jeff wanted that second place back. Is he too far down the road from Nate Franklin? And certainly for the lead, Alex Albert's 10-second gap means that it's will have to be problems for him for him to lose that spot.
Yeah, you bet. And there's some very hungry drivers behind him. Giovanni Mano and Ryan Verhulst. These guys are also battling. So some very hungry drivers, some very quick drivers behind that. Giovanni Mano has the youngest tires. Antonio Alvarez has the youngest tires, followed by Antonio Alvarez. So these guys are just, and a spin!
Brian Molitor around in the middle sector. He gets going again, but he was quite prominently placed on the exit of that corner as some of the cars we were talking about were coming by, like Romano and Verhulst. Didn't scare either of those drivers into a spin, but it was probably a sight to behold as they came around the corner.
Well, David, by the sound of my voice, it scared the crap out of me. So those guys have got the level head in the car. But my goodness, I definitely probably would have had a moment myself. But very responsible, level-headed driving, and a great job by Brian Molitor to keep those brakes on. And my goodness, avoid a big incident with some very competitive drivers inside the top 10 here. But they do not seem fazed by it. So Giovanni Mano continues to hunt down Antonio Alvarez for that P4 and P5 battle.
Yeah, our best battles are inside the top 5. For third place, Jeff Tyler and Antonio Alvarez still. Alvarez is still there, and like you said, with those slightly younger tires as well, which are now up to temperature. And then for 5th place, Romano has Ryan Verhulst charging late in this race to try and take a top 5 away from him. I haven't really seen Verhulst lighting up the timing screens, but clearly he's had a good in-lap, good out-lap, and a quick pit stop as well. So Verhulst running well, all things considered, though just as I say that, I put the jinx on him.
Yes, David, you have done that. You finish your sentence, and he spun in a sector we've been talking about all night, the 8, 9, 10 sector just coming up. He actually had the issue before turn 9, got a little early on the braking, maybe a little too heavy on the braking, spun himself and lost a whole boatload of time and actually lost himself a spot. John Patrick has made a pass.
Yeah, so I guess I won't be praising Ryan Verhulst again, just in case. I'll keep all my fingers crossed there, but yeah, okay, he's kept that out of the barrier for the most part, but it was, as you rightly point out, on the brakes where he's looped the car, not putting the power down, which is the mistake we've seen most drivers make. So back into 7th for Verhulst and the number 12 car. And car still clean, but how much time did he lose to that? A bit over 5 seconds lost, and that was enough for him to lose a position to John Patrick.
Yeah, indeed. David, I want to mention a man we haven't mentioned a few times this race, but not a whole lot. The man who's leading our race, Alex Albert. He has just crossed the finish line, and he is 7 laps on his tires. And David, he just continues to burn up this field, and he is very quickly reminding us why he is the championship points leader right now, because it does not matter what car you put him in, David. He is quick no matter what. He's dealing very responsibly with a lot of the lap traffic. He's been very responsible on the throttle, no spins. I don't want to jinx him here, David, as he comes in to a very difficult sector of the track where we've seen that, but very strong drive from Alex Albert tonight, and really no miscues at all.
Tyler's around. Damage for Jeff Tyler out of third place. Where's this been? This looks like turn 2. Turn 2 has been the Achilles heel for Jeff Tyler. I'm checking out the replay right now. Has he done it all by himself? I think he has. I think he's clipped too much of the curb, the inside of turn 2, looped it around into the tire barrier hard, and Antonio Alvarez gets third place. But how far will Jeff Tyler fall? There's damage on that car. He's 6th right now, 7th as he lets Ryan Verholz past. Has Tyler already used fast repair? How many does he have? Because there's a lot of damage on that car for JT.
Yeah, that was a very, very particular or peculiar spin. He got a little bit of curb. The car looked like it got a little bit unsettled, but then it just snapped on him. I don't know if he was maybe unsure or unclear of how unsettled the car was. But David, that was a very strange spin and very characteristic for Jeff Tyler. And yeah, tons of damage on that car. That is going to require a repair in order to have a meaningful finish and make the car probably drivable.
So he's back onto pit road. I've read down the regulations, and he will have one more fast repair to use. So expect all of the aerodynamic bits on that car to pop out at this pit stop. Will he also take a new set of tires now, or will he try and hold on to the warm set? That'll be interesting as well. He's going a new set of tires, but this has been costly for Jeff Tyler. Not only the damage, but then that cost him time, and then he had to limp around the whole lap with that damage on, and that's dropped him back to 9th. He's going to come out just in front of Dylan Blanton, who will have warm tires, maybe a little bit more confidence underneath him. So that could be a battle as well in our final 8 minutes.
Yeah, indeed. And yeah, we just did not want to see it from Jeff Tyler, but he's got some work to do. But yeah, he's a very quick Dylan Blanton behind him. But much as we saw in the Canadian Grand Prix today with
no spoilers.
With a few people getting very hot heads during the race today. I think Jeff Tyler has a very hot head right now to make sure.
I took my headset off, but I'm back now.
Thank you, David. I apologize to any audience out there that is not watching the Canadian Grand Prix. There's some very upset drivers. Jeff Tyler's probably driving like one of them.
I would have watched it live if I didn't have to wake up to do this. Anyway, yeah, Blanton with the warm tires, he was quite close to Jeff Tyler through Atwood curve, but then through the infield, I think Tyler has gotten to grips with his new set of tires, pulled that gap out just a little bit further than 1 second.
Yeah, I'm trying to see where is our closest battles on tracks, because we are all spread out. It looks like P14 and P15, David Hall and Brian Molitor, who has had a very difficult race. He's done himself a few pirouettes, all unfortunately self-inflicted. He's been a bit aggressive on the throttle, but he's going to try and make a move here. No, David Hall into turn 1, and a nice move there. But no, David's not going to get the job done. But Brian Molitor hunting down David Hall for P14 and P15 with just under 7 minutes left in this race. Oh, very close there. Very close there in turn 4. Almost made some contact.
Yeah, all ran a little bit wide. Molitor couldn't take any advantage of it. Molitor's been through the pit lane twice to David Hall's once, so that's clearly cost a bit of time for Brian Molitor, and he's caught back up to Hall on track. So maybe he'll have the pace to get the move done. He got quite close, but just couldn't capitalize at the right point. This will be a good one to watch. Through the infield, this would be an interesting place to make a pass. No, Brian Molitor won't try there. But he did think about it. He definitely did. Not the most common overtaking spot. That'd be into turn 1 and into turn 5. But Molitor then not quite close enough this time. And suddenly there's a little bit more happening in the top 5 as well, so race is not over for everyone just yet. And Molitor goes for the inside, makes contact with Hall, loses his front wing. He dived very, very late to the inside. Maybe was caught out by how deep Hall braked, and there's damage on both of those cars now.
Yeah, David, that was a very strange incident. I don't think he was quite ready for what David Hall was breaking. And then, yeah, he just really shot the car around and clipped the front wall. But, yeah, David, let's quickly go back up to that front action. Brian Malter is driving again, but let's look at P6 and P7, Alexander Viewer and Ryan Verhulst, and also John Patrick and Giovanni Amato. David, we've got two quick battles here with 5 minutes left in this race.
Yeah, so Verhulst pulls to the right-hand side, maybe to try and defend it. No, to let Alexander Bueller through. So Bueller back up into 6th. Verhulst holds on to 7th after his spin that he went for earlier, and that means that the battle for 4th and 5th is where we're going to want to cast our eyes. Giovanni Romano in 4th place. It's being hunted by John Patrick, who is ever so close right now.
Yeah, a bit defensive by Giovanni Mano. A very interesting entry into the turn 5 hairpin by John Patrick, really showing his cards of what his intentions were. Just didn't work out. That's not just the way to make the pass there. He's working his way through this very difficult complex. All right, David, let's watch this 8-9 section. This has bit everybody out. I know we've got 4 minutes left in this race. Who's going to be responsible? You're not going to gain a whole lot of time here. Just get through the section, get through it smart. And yeah, I'm talking to a couple guys who know what they're doing, and that's why they're currently running in P4 and P5. So no moves on this lap for for John Patrick. He may use a push pass here to get past him. Turn 1's going to be a great opportunity.
Closing quickly, but not enough for turn 1. I don't want to talk about the livery that John Patrick is running because it scares me, but he is right underneath Romano through turn 2. Coming up through these S's here, and then you can maybe make an overtake into this corner if you're very brave, but if you compromise your line up the hill and down the longest straight on the circuit, that's great drive from John Patrick up the hill, tucked right underneath the rear wing of Romano. Identical setup means identical drag, and Romano doesn't even need to defend because Patrick sticks his nose to the inside but just couldn't break deep enough to make a move that time. There'll only be 3 laps to go when they cross the start-finish line next time. If JP from Texas thinks he's got enough speed to take 4th place, he's only got a couple of opportunities still remaining. One thing that might give him an opportunity is a lapped car in front of them. So that could make an opportunity for John Patrick to make a move, but it spins itself out of the way of them.
Yeah, that was a pretty easy situation dealt with right there. But yeah, David,
20th place.
Yeah, but David, on that last straightaway, that was a great showcase of what a push-to-pass can do for you. You don't always need it to push to pass. Giovanni Romano really gunned it at the very beginning of that corner exit and left John Patrick no opportunity to dive into the hairpin. So great use of a push-to-pass by Giovanni Romano. He's currently got a few of those left in the bag in order to ensure he's going to hold on to that P4, but it looks like they're coming up on 1 more lap car, David. So, my goodness, let's watch some more push-to-pass opportunities here.
Yeah, JP's close once again. Romano tries to take some of the slipstream from Alcar. It almost helps him. He's going to go quite deep, locks up the inside tire, will get away with it. JP is going to have a better run down the hill, but you can't pass here unless you are brave or crazy. And John Patrick is not brave right now. Again, we're 2 minutes left on the clock and opportunities running out in this battle for 4th and 5th. Patrick takes a much later apex up the hill. That won't make him that much quicker, but it will help him keep the steering wheel straight if he does spin up the rear tires. What about through the final corner? Good run for John Patrick this time, puts his nose towards the inside, side by side. Romano weaves just a little bit. He's going to try and break around the outside, but John Patrick to the inside. It's tough to outfox JP in an Indy car.
Yeah, and he's done a great move by John Patrick on Giovanni Romano. I think Giovanni Romano may have used his final push to pass in order to keep that because John Patrick was a bit disabled on the straightaway, but John Patrick had a little bit of the lockup here. Looks like they've got another lap car in front of them. John Patrick is going to benefit from this tow. So, David, does Giovanni Romano have any push to pass left? Because I really feel like I observed him use quite a few of the straightaways in order to make sure that John Patrick didn't have an opportunity, but he may have run out of luck here with, David, we're right at a minute left in this race.
What does the position indicator on the roll hoop do when they are using the push to pass? Does it indicate outwardly how much they've got remaining, or does it just flash green or something?
I'm not entirely sure, but as an announcer, I would love to see something like that, because speculating up here in the booth is not always the prettiest thing to do, as we're probably giving the fans incorrect information. But yeah, John Patrick, David, a full second on that lap, so my goodness, he's looking quick.
Yeah, your leader, Alex Albert, has taken the white flag already, so he's on his final lap, assuming that the iRacing lap counting is doing what we think it's doing. It says last lap now for me. So I believe the checkered flag will come out this time for your race leader, Alex Albert. He's more than halfway around his lap, and what a dominant race that he has run from the lead of the race, from pole position, a great jump into the lead of the race, and almost untouchable since then.
Indeed. David, I do want to make a quick shout out to a battle for P8 and P9 has heated up on this last lap. Jeff Tyler, who has had a very unfortunately eventful race, has caught
and the checkered flag is out for Alex Albert as he comes out of the last corner. So this will be the final lap, and he is your winner now. Alex Albert wins round 8 of Reddit iRacing League Season 25.
Yeah, David, thank you for that call, and I think that also may have seeded up the championship well. Let's go back to this battle for P8 and P9. As yet, Jeff Tyler and Thomas Ellison dealing with some lap traffic. Jeff Tyler would love to grab one more spot, but we are coming up to the most difficult place to pass in the scariest part on track. Let's watch these guys try and finish out this race here.
Yeah, so Nate Franklin's crossed the line for second, Antonio Alvarez for third, but this is 8th and 9th, and Jeff Tyler lights up his rear tires, and I think that will let Ellison scamper away to hold on to 8th place. Tough race for Jeff Tyler. Great pace. He had the fastest lap of the race, a 1:14 flat, but not enough. Too much damage on that car, too many pit stops. So 9th place for him, and Ellison holds on to 8th. Only Kyle Smith and Alex Coffard left to take the checkered flag, and they cross the line side by side. Smith, I think, just holds off Coffard at the end as well. So racing from start to finish here. Let's have a look at your order as they finished. Your winner, Alex Albert, from pole position, a dominant run for him, but Nate Franklin started 6th, finishes 2nd, so 4 positions gained for him. Same for Antonio Alvarez, who gets the last spot on the podium from 7th on the grid. John Patrick gained 5 to finish in 4th place. Giovanni Romano gets 5th place. Alexander Bueller is 6th after some issues for him. Same for Ryan Verhulst, who gets 7th. Then that battle we saw, Ellison and Tyler finish 8th and 9th. And rounding out your top 10, a great quiet run from Jeremy Rogers.
Indeed. Let's look at P11, Matthew Murphy, P11, Dylan Blanton, P12, Andrew Fawcett, P13. Very frustrating night for him. David Hall, P14, Brian Molitor. Again, another eventful evening for him, rounding out our top 15. Jordan Babcock and Babs Nation, an early incident for Babs Nation, and unfortunately that is probably a satisfying finish for him, but would have loved to see a higher result. Kyle Smith, P17, Alex Crawford, P18, Harrison Chandler, P19, Steve Sims rounds out our top 20. Daniel Bartz, Evan Merrill, who we just unfortunately believe had a hardware issue and dropped out of this race. He was running in P2. Austin Burdick, P23. Chris Fleming, P24. And Nicholas Harder, P25. And I do not believe that Shane Cameron and Ignacio Gomez started the race. So, David, that is the group, and I'm going to see who I could grab for you.
Well, we've got the winner, Alex Albert, and I'm sure you've done the numbers as well. Potentially season 25 champion.
Yeah, I haven't. I'm not sure the math, but yeah, if that's so, then yeah, that's great.
Talk about this race and this car track combination. I'm almost jealous I wasn't out there. But how difficult is it to not spin up those rear tires in this turbocharged high horsepower Indy car, especially out of some of those really slow hairpins? This is quite a tight circuit.
Yeah, that was the key to tonight, was managing that forward drive, making sure that you didn't spin up the rears. If they got a little hot, they would stay that way for a few corners, and you would pay for it. I don't know if you guys saw, I had a few little incidents where I slid the rears a little bit and then slid them again a corner or so later. But yeah, it was tough in turn two, the exit of there, the hairpins, and then the corners there towards the end of the circuit. Those hairpins, all pretty tough.
Fuel and tires in this race, I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it was only a little splash of fuel needed. So we saw a lot of people come pit for tires about the halfway point. Is that correct? And was that always going to be your strategy, or did you see some others pit and decide you need to cover it off?
Yeah, I plan to stop about halfway, just a little past. That way, I would have the fresher tires towards the end of the race. But we needed about a half a tank, so I think it took 10 gallons and still had a gallon to spare. So yeah, it added a lot of strategy to it and when to pit. I didn't notice my tires really falling off. I pit because I was catching traffic, but the car on low fuel and the tires, even though they were worn, still seemed to be able to do 14s.
Well, congrats on your pole position, your win, and what we are assuming at this point might be the championship. Of course, with some drop weeks in Reddit iRacing League, we need to compute the numbers on that one, but certainly, at the very least, this would extend your championship lead, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, this is definitely one of my best seasons I've had in the Reddit iRacing League. Not even sure how many wins this season. I think at least three, maybe more. A couple second place finishes. So I don't think anything worse than a top five. So definitely a career season for me.
Well done on that one. Anyone you'd like to thank, any shout outs you'd give, and any HJ updates while you're live on it?
Yeah. So thanks to all the team. Thanks to everyone. All the HJ guys. I want to dedicate this race though to my father, our chief mechanic. He's actually out there working on the car right now, and I was helping him until just before the race, and so I'm going to get back out there and get the car ready to go to the dyno on Wednesday.
And more than anything else, I wish you good luck with that.
Well, thanks, I appreciate it.
Radio.
Yeah, just really, great weekend. Won every session, and just feels really good. Tough field of cars, big field. So yeah, move on to Concord and see if we can close this championship.
Congratulations. Thanks for coming to have a chat with us. And Aaron, let's try and find Nate Franklin, our second place finisher, if we can. I don't know if you've had a poke around and found him.
I have found him. I have pulled him into the booth here. Nate, fantastic race. I want to say it was a spectacular P2, but you were slow and steady and a very quiet P2. I don't think that's a bad thing, but just slow and consistency, no spins, a good pit stop, and a great drive tonight.
Yeah, that's about what I was going for. I knew right away I wasn't going to have any kind of pace for Alex. I think I started P6, and yeah, I was just trying to not get involved with anybody. There were guys ahead of me kind of pulled away, and I managed to get a little gap behind me. Although Antonio was very close match to my pace. Pretty much all race we were kind of trading best laps, so it was a lot of fun, even though we couldn't really see each other on track. But yeah, it was a tough race.
Yeah, talk about that 8, 9, 10 section with that very hard left, and then turn 9, which is a right hand uphill. We saw so many cars really just spin themselves. Was there an option to short shift that, or were you use 60% throttle? How did you keep from spinning in that section, which we saw so many cars do tonight?
Mainly just act like you've got an egg underneath your throttle, because if you tried to short shift it into second, the way the gearing was set up in this car, first gear went till about 80 or 90 mile an hour. So if you short shifted it to second, it was going to bog down and you were going to lose time. So it was faster to just try to go like 50, 60% throttle until you're not turning anymore, and no major weight change in the back end, and just try to be very, very careful on the throttle.
Yeah, they are getting great drive time. Quickly talk about some of the tires. It looks like you guys, the times didn't drop off too much. Is that just some of the benefits of having a high downforce car here?
Yeah, partially. I know I wore my front tires maybe more than a lot of the other drivers, but I was also using a brake bias that was more further forward. I was just trying to avoid locking up the rears, braking for the hairpin. because that was a big problem area. And once you do that once, you have to go really slow until your tires cool down, like Alec mentioned. So yeah, it was all about managing the heat in the tires. And like you said, when I pit and got new ones, the lap times didn't drop off. They didn't get any better, but I was just trying to run consistent low 15s and run my own race.
Well, congratulations on a P2 tonight, Nate. Again, looking at the scoring sheet, a bunch of the drivers in front of you had a kind of a difficult night, so the chance of you moving up a few points is quite high. So, congratulations on a P2. Any thanks or shoutouts?
Yeah, mainly just to the huge ass team. Looking forward to heading out to Indianapolis with the team, and Alex and his dad, like Alex said, for all the work, and Derby, Fawcett, all those guys that work on the car on their weekends. Much appreciated, and looking forward to a good dyno session on.
Thank you, Nate. David, do you have our P3 driver, Mr. Antonio Alvarez?
Yes, I think the pleasure of speaking to Antonio will be mine. And congratulations, another result on the podium 2 weekends in a row. I think, was your secret just keeping the car on the track? Because plenty of other people had some spins around you, and you've been the benefactor. You've profited from their mistakes.
Yeah, hi guys, nice to be here again. Yeah, that was a lucky race. Yeah, I tried to be clean. First lap, it was about keeping Giovanni behind. So that was on the limit, but then it was just be safe and keep going steady.
You went a lot longer on the tires. Well, not a lot longer, a few laps longer on the tires than lots of other drivers. Was it just to keep a warm set of tires so you didn't have to change to the cold set of tires, or did you have to react to everyone else's pit stops?
I talk about reacting, but now I just decided to go to the end of the fuel stint. Maybe I could maybe overcut someone, but it almost worked with Jeff. He got me then in the pit exit, but yeah, it was just be safe in that aspect.
That was a great battle on your outlap with Jeff Tyler, and we did see that. It was very strong racing between you two. Your season so far in Reddit iRacing League, I think we've seen you on the podium and in the top 5 more often than before. We've got 1 round to go. Can you do it again?
Well, I hope so, but it's a tough track. Anyone can be there in that track. And yeah, it has been a good season. Maybe I would be higher in the standings if I were in every race. But the races I have been good this season.
Well, congratulations on another podium finish. Anyone you'd like to thank? Any shout outs you'd like to give? Anything else you need to say?
Yeah, shout out for my mom for a good meal to start the race before. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, and good luck next week and good luck next season.
Yeah. See you guys.
Well, there we go. That's our top 3 finishes, Aaron. And do you have any last thoughts on this race? Because I think we saw plenty of action.
Now, we did see plenty of action, and as always, a little bit of everything, but I think we really saw a lot of frustration tonight with some of these guys not being able to be a little aggressive behind the wheel and even more aggressive on the throttle. And David, I just want to quickly call it Antonio. Man, I think we would all really appreciate a good hearty meal before hopping up here in the broadcast booth. So we need to figure out how we can get some of that before we get up here. But man, that sounds great.
Yeah, he made it sound really good, and the results, I think, speak for themselves. So, that is some fuel for a podium finish. Thanks so much for tuning in here on HJBC to Reddit iRacing League coverage. We'll be back next week with the final round of Season 25. And if we weren't sure now, we'll definitely be sure then who our season champion is. That's going to be the Street Stock at Concord. So that will take it from an oval car on a road course to an oval car on an oval course, and that'll be great to watch as well. The oval strategy is always interesting in these races, and we hope we'll see you then. On behalf of myself, David Haynes, Aaron Thacker, and our producer, Michael Derby, good night.